I'm always fascinated to hear how someone got into Messianic Judaism to begin with, because not everybody finds their way to Messianic Judaism, and not even all Jewish followers of Jesus find their way to Messianic Judaism. So I wanted to ask, did you grow up in Messianic Judaism? Did you find your way to Messianic Judaism? And if so, how?
Great question. Well, I definitely came into it later.
Okay.
So I was raised in a Reformed Jewish home. I had mezuzah. We had mezuzah on our door. We celebrated Passover, went to synagogue on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I went to Hebrew school, had a bat mitzvah.
Nice.
So I had that. And at the same time, I don't really recall talking about God at home or even synagogue for that matter. I'm not saying we didn't. I just don't remember it. In hindsight, there were seeds that were planted in those experiences. I think I sometimes wondered, like, what happened? What happened to God? And like, where did he go after creating the world and delivering the slaves from Egypt and parting the Red Sea? I kind of had those questions, but I never asked them. So I never got an answer. So what I assumed was that after all those events played out that I learned about in Sunday school, I figured he just sat back in a really big chair and watched humanity play itself out. I mean, that was what it seemed like. So
yeah, it's like deism.
Exactly. And at the same time, my best friend who lived next door was a Christian, and her family decorated Christmas trees, and while mine was lighting Hanukkah candles. And so it was a little puzzling. And I then I did ask, what's the difference between Judaism and Christianity? And the answer that I got was that Jews don't believe in Jesus. So that was sort of the explanation. Fast forward to after college, a lifelong kind of struggle with compulsive eating ended up bringing me to Overeaters Anonymous, which is a God-faced solution. And it was based on the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, which the steps, as it turns out, were actually foundational faith principles like self-examination, confession, repentance, forgiveness, kind of like key foundations. And so by God's grace and by working the steps, I actually developed a dependence on God. And, I assumed it was the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it seemed like there was fruit there, like peace and joy. And my hunger for God is sort of the hunger that won out. So because I hadn't grown up with much of a relationship with God, once I got a taste of faith, I started searching everywhere to try and find him. So first I tried a Unity Church, which is the first time that I realized that Jesus wasn't such a bad guy.
Yeah.
And then I got involved with a small Christian Bible study that had really helpful and practical teachings about relationships. And so I was drawn in even further. And then I explored Catholicism, because it felt historical and structured and liturgical, more like the Judaism that I was familiar with from childhood. Ironically, at that point, a Catholic priest suggested that I check out Judaism, which I hadn't really considered before as an adult.
So coming full circle.
Right. He thought that I never gave Judaism a good chance. And so before, officially joining the Catholic Church, he suggested that I do that. And that led me to shadow some Orthodox Jewish women. And for the first time, I saw a form of Judaism that was really different than anything I had experienced before. I mean, they revolved their lives around God from the time they woke up in the morning till the time they literally went to sleep. And it seemed meaningful and joyful. It was very appealing to me, to be honest, but I didn't quite see how Jesus or my future non-Jewish husband could fit into that world. So I drifted back into Catholicism and got baptized and confirmed there. and later ended up going to a non-denominational church. After joining the Catholic Church, I left there. And once I got to the non-denominational Christian church, I met Elizabeth. And Elizabeth was raised as a Messianic Jew, and that changed everything. So you can imagine, because of my conversations with her, I finally learned that I still had a Jewish identity. I still was Jewish. And I also realized that some of my lingering struggles with Christianity weren't struggles with Jesus, right? They were struggles with some historical teachings that I could never really make sense of.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Boy, the verse comes to mind that God is a rewarder of those who diligently seek him. And you just kept searching until you found what you were looking for. But I think that's really encouraging. If anyone out there listening is a seeker, God is, I think, will honor that if you're your honest curiosity and searching for God. That's cool. And of course, here at First Fruits of Zion, as you know, we're all too familiar with the tension we can feel, having the Bible in one hand and the church in the other, and trying to figure out, like, okay, what's how come this isn't all adding up? And for a Jewish person, especially, because you've got that whole Old Testament there, and so it's sort of got your name all over it, and then to come to the church and have them say, well, it's not so much that anymore. That can present a real challenge and a real struggle. I'm glad you made it. To Messianic Judaism. Well, I'm sure there's a lot more to your story. I'm not saying you're old, but I'm just, there's probably a lot more there. So maybe you can write an article for us. Let us know in the comments if you want to hear more about Hope's journey. Just type that. Hope, tell us your journey in the comments. All right. So was this time that this was happening? Was First Fruits around back then? Like, as you discovered your Jewish identity was compatible with following Jesus? Were we of any help to you at all in that process, or was the timing right for that to be the case?
It was actually. FFOZ had been around for a few years, and in fact, Elizabeth introduced me to FFOZ and to Hyasode, which is, for those listeners who aren't familiar, FFOZ's 10-week video course. And through that, I learned that Jesus is Jewish and the Bible was written by Jews, and Paul didn't convert to Christianity. He was a faithful Jew. And so, like, in some ways, like, Hyasode changed everything. And through that, it was like a weight was lifted in some ways, because I didn't have to choose between Judaism and Christianity. And my Jewish identity was restored. And ironically, I actually, kind of for the first time, gained a much stronger faith in Jesus than at any stop on my Christian journey, because the Bible started making sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a story we hear a lot. People do get confused. They think, oh, Messianic Judaism, it's like you're diluting the gospel. It's like the Torah or your Judaism is coming to, like, muscling out Jesus. But what a lot of people don't realize, it's the opposite. Like, the Messianic Jews that I've met are fervent followers of Jesus. He is what they have discovered in Messianic Judaism is a path of discipleship to Jesus. That where he's at the center of their lives. He's all they talk about, and their expressions of Judaism are inextricably linked to that discipleship to Jesus. It's not just that there's no conflict, but there's such a consonance, and it's I wish more people realize that. We get stuck, especially depending on how we grew up, we get stuck in a either or kind of thing. We don't realize just how well it all fits together.